the fact that he comes across very, very stylish, very, very well dressed, gives him a sense of control, and control is his big selling point. A few years ago, I went for a job interview at the company that I already worked for a role that was open. And on the day of the interview, I turned up wearing a suit. Um, Now that stood me out a little bit because at the time, the dress code, if you like, in the office was what they might call business casual. So yeah, smartish, but certainly nobody was wearing, a blazer or tie or anything like that. So I stood out a little bit, and there were a few comments, but it felt perfectly natural for me to do that because, well, after all, I would be wearing a suit if I was going for a job interview somewhere else. And although it was remarked on by, I think, HR, I eventually did actually get the job. So I was actually very happy with that. It got me to think, though, a little bit about the whole theme of, dressing smartly and all of that. And at the time, my view was, well, it's putting me into a good mindset. If I turn up wearing a suit for a job interview, I'm going to be giving it my best shot because I'm dressed appropriately and I'm motivated and I'm showing other people that I'm motivated. Now, of course, attitudes on clothing and formality and things like that have changed it quite considerably over the last few years, and things are, typically, getting more relaxed. Some people are very critical of that, and they describe it as dumbing down. Um, my own perspective has shifted a little bit, and I've got a slightly different perspective on that right now that I really wanted to share with you. Um, I think that whatever your profession, whatever your work environment, the way that you dress can really give you a style and identity that can make you stand out. It can give you a sense of credibility. And there's loads of examples of this. One of the earlier ones that triggered this thought with me was the late great Fred Dibner, TV presenter, but made his name as a steeplejack. Um, and in the early part of his career, he was on TV a great deal, fixing or felling big chimneys in the north and doing programs on his. I think he had a traction engine and all that sort of thing. But then when he was older, he did a lot of presenting on programs, covering things like Victorian architecture and steam engines and all that sort of thing, the sort of industrial age. And he would often wear, a sort of old-fashioned coat with a pocket watch and a flat cap and all that sort of thing. And it kind of gave him that persona, gave him that sort of style and identity that you knew it was Fred Dibner, and he would talk off the cuff, and he was, as I say, a credible voice on his subject matter. Compare that with a far more recent example. There is a TV program on Channel 5, I think, called Dogs Behaving Badly, which is presented by a chap called Graham Hall. And he's known as somebody who can deal with any type of dog, any situation. It's usually these dogs are out of control and they need somebody to come in and, help manage their behavior and help the family out. And he's brilliant at that. When I first saw an episode of Dogs Behaving Badly, I found what he wore slightly curious because he's quite a tall guy, and he wears very, very not flamboyant clothes. That's the wrong word, but he's very, very stylish, very, very well dressed. He'll often be wearing a what looks like an expensive tweed jacket or a waistcoat, very smart trousers, a scarf around his neck, but it's all very, very sort of well dressed and well presented. And I thought this is a bit strange because he's handling dogs. Dogs are often, quite messy. He's going through fields, and was that really the most practical outfit to be wearing? But actually, on reflection, the fact that he comes across very, very stylish, very, very well dressed, gives him a sense of control, and control is his big selling point. Any situation that he's walking into, he's able to immediately get that under control and give a sense of hope and purpose and optimism to the people that he's helping out who have had to live with these dogs, and they need help. So actually, it really gives him an edge, and like I say, I'll use that word credibility again. It really helps his sort of brand, his credibility. And I'll throw a third example out, and this might be slightly stranger, slightly more off the cuff, slightly more controversial, but take the example of Jeremy Clarkson. Now, Jeremy Clarkson is not somebody who's described as dressing, smartly or anything like that. And in fact, he's often appeared in these lists of worst dressed celebrity. He's often, I mean, he looks a bit scruffy anyway, and he'll be wearing a t-shirt or a shirt that doesn't fit very well, and it's sort of crumpled and old stonewashed jeans and all of this. But the point is that he's very, very consistent with it. He's never taken that sort of those sentiments or that feedback and tried to become something that he's not. It's in keeping with the person that he is, which is somebody who doesn't really care. He's himself. He's always sort of off the cuff. He's always Jeremy Clarkson. So you know what you're going to get with Jeremy Clarkson. And actually, what that has done in recent years, it's allowed him to take a lot more TV opportunities, because TV companies are saying, well, look, we know who we're going to get. We're going to get that person. He's going to be authentic. And actually, in the last few years, when he's done his farming program, Clarkson's Farm, he hasn't really had to change a great deal. I mean, yes, he's driving a tractor and not an expensive car. Yes, he's probably wearing wellies more frequently, but essentially he's the same person. He fits in with all of those people, in and around the farm, in the village he works for. He's a great rapport with them, and he can be true to himself. He is his true self, his authentic self. So just some examples there, and I think you see it coming together with something like, I would say, The Repair Shop, the BBC series, where you actually have a great variety of different craftspeople, men and women, who are all brought in to to work on certain projects and bring their specific skill. And with many of them, you see them turn up wearing the sort of clothing that you might expect, you might associate with that particular skill. And it allows them to breathe in their role. It allows them to have that, again, sense of credibility for what it is that they do. So as I say, over the last few years, I've evolved my thought process. It's not really a case of, do you have to turn up being ultra smart? You have to wear the sharpest suit or anything like that. I think it's more about being comfortable in your own skin and seeing your sense of style and your dress sense, as I say, of giving you an identity, and ultimately being something that can serve you very well for the duration of your career. Obviously, when we're all at school, we turn up, we wear school uniform, we go home, we wear whatever we want, and that's the way it should be. But I think, gradually, as you get a little bit older and you understand your subject area, you start getting down your career path, you can start to take a little bit of time to hone that style and make it A, what you're comfortable with, and B, something that, as I say, gives you that sense of credibility. So hopefully some food for thought, something to think about. I hope you found that useful, and thanks for watching.